make sure that the volume is working here. So I'll go to my page, make sure that everybody can hear us. Let's see. I don't want to be talking to people that can't hear us. All right, cool. All right, we got audio. So I'm here with Lisa, and we're just going to go over burnout, stress, and probably get into maybe some flow too. I think this is a common theme that both of us hear a lot of people talking about, that they feel burnt out, they're stressed, overwhelmed. And really quick, I would love for Lisa to kind of maybe go into a little bit of her background. That way, everybody listening and watching can get an idea of, where she's coming from.
Hmm. Where do I? Well, hi, Gemini. Thank you for having me here. Sorry for the way I appear here. I was cleaning my house.
The house has to get clean.
That's my excuse.
That's it.
It's true. It's the truth. Where was my burnout? I got
Well, more a little bit about maybe like professionally with like psychology and
yeah.
you know.
Well, I have a psych degree, just some bachelor's. I worked in the field with a bachelor's, and meaning I really liked the patients a lot, and a lot of the people in the field were probably burned out at the time. This was in the 90s, and from there I went into finance, which means I went into insurance, and then I was a financial advisor, and then after I was about 18 years, and the 11 of those years in the end I was a trader, and I stopped trading because I got sick from toxins in my office, mold toxins, and I didn't know what was wrong with me, and I went to 14 different doctors. Can you hear that noise? Like lots of static. Can you hear that? No. Um, anyway, I went to 14 different doctors, and they all thought I was nuts. Mostly, they were mostly men, and I was in my 50s at the time, and I figured it out. It was toxins, and it was all kinds of stuff that was going on in my body. So I feel like I changed my body chemistry. I lost like 30 pounds. I wasn't sleeping or eating, or I was trying to breathe, basically. Um, and I couldn't put a sentence together, which freaked me out more than anything, because I used to sit and research for hours and then put positions on, because I was a stock and option trader. Um, and I I experienced burnout in an extreme way. I was very cynical and depressed, probably. All I don't have it in front of me, but all the symptoms of burnout. I didn't know what it was called. Burnout. We've been talking about burnout since the 70s, I guess, but it's
Right.
gotten worse. Because the industry I was in didn't care that I was burned out either. It was the financial industry that it was just like, you're expendable. So, you know,
What
it's
did
a place to be. It's a pretty crappy place to be.
what did you like see dealing with like patients in like the psych realm with like people like that were probably stressed and burnt out all the time. Like, what
Uh,
did you what did you like see with that? And do you think that the patient's going to, let's say the practice that you were working at to see a psychologist, like, do you think that the that industry is set up and positioned in a way where it's actually going to make a difference in those people's lives? Or do you feel like it's kind of just like there and it helps a little bit, but it doesn't really like address the problem in a way that's like long lasting?
Correct. No, the latter. Um, I used to say this a lot, that I didn't want to talk about. I didn't believe in talk therapy. I believed in then, and it was people believed in it along with meds. Um, I just thought people wanted to feel. good about themselves, and they wanted the fastest, most expedient way to get there, and that you didn't have to look at your limiting beliefs and all your demons for 20 years, because it was job security for them, more misery for you. I used to say that all the time. And I
Yeah.
was pretty outspoken when I worked in that field, because I thought a lot of it was just I mean, bullshit. I don't know if I can say that. I guess I just
Yeah.
said
Say it. Say whatever you want.
bullshit, you know, and I used to I had a lot of people that, of course, it was, again, job security. I was really outspoken. So I think now it's different, and there's so many people. I talk to a lot of people who have therapists, and they go to see counselors and all, and they tell me what these people say, and I'm like, find another one. And these people,
Right.
they're burned out themselves, and there's so many people in the world that just, they want to feel like they matter. And that's really
Right.
what it's all about. They want to feel like they matter, and what they're doing, whether it's personally or their job, that it matters, and that their time here on earth, what they're producing, matters to them and to the people around them. And that's really simple.
So how can what are ways that people can start feeling like they matter, like their lives matter, and bring that meaning into their lives?
I think a lot of the stuff, I think people, and you would probably agree with me, people need to start with themselves physically, like their body, right? Like, um, and not that I would never consider myself an athlete, but eliminating things that are creating physiological blockages, or your brain is misinterpreting what you're doing. Like, if you eat decent food, good food, holistic food, and you do something every day to move your body, even if it's just like, I clean my house, I'm running up and down the stairs all the time, I have a Fitbit on, I do my 10,000 steps. um, like, just realizing that it's not just, I mean, I think a lot of us who work with our brains a lot think that we're going to think ourselves less stressed. And I think you need to uh, realize that your body and your brain it's all connected, and you need to physically do something every day to feel um, flow. I'm going to talk about flow, because, like, what is it you love to do? Like, I like to bake, because I can produce something that I can see, like bread or cookies or a cake. I don't necessarily want to eat it. I just want to produce it. And
Right.
or even like I have a rower downstairs and a stepper. Like, I like to put headphones on and go row. So I mean, just do something for your body. And then what is it that you feel that you're missing? Like, most people feel that they want to make more money. What is it about the money that you want? Like, what is it? Like, what is that thing? You want that feeling of security. You want that feeling of that you are valued. Well, I think you need to start looking at what your value is. I don't think people realize what their value is. I didn't. I started looking at all the things that I've spent money on over the years, programs, and you and I were just in a program. And I think that one in particular is really beneficial for a lot of people, but you might not necessarily need to go through all of that. Um, go with somebody that's actually been in that program, that actually knows how to help you circumvent having to do all of that. Like, but I don't know. What do you think about that, Gemini? I mean, we both were in Z to D, so it's a phenomenal program. But you know more about the physiology part of it and the physical aspect of how people um, interpret and assimilate all that knowledge that we were um, exposed to.
Well, I think I had a session yesterday for burnout, and she was talking, exercise came up. We did a flow blocker diagnosis. So, to uncover, like, is your mindset the issue? Do you have a lack of clarity? Is there distraction? Do you lack motivation? Like, where's your burnout, your time, exhaustion, stress, self-sabotage? Are you overwhelmed? And then being able to rate these, and we went from there, kind of went into an active recovery protocol, right? Which is like the foundation of like well-being on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, like for the rest of your life. And exercise came up, and she's like, when I exercise, I feel better. I feel like happier. I'm not as stressed. I feel amazing. I feel like, strong and empowered when I leave. And it's interesting how, like, when shit hits the fan, what's the first thing to go? It's like exercise, sleep, gratitude, meditation, like all that, like stuff that you're like, oh, it's just little shit, it doesn't matter. And it was interesting to see how aware she was. And what I was telling her was, most people don't realize that when you're going to exercise, and let's say you go to the gym and you're on a fitness program, like, you're actually training yourself to be able to take on more life load, which, like, life load is stress, right? So you go to the gym, you get stronger, psychologically, physiologically, you know, everything, like your endocrine system, like everything all around is getting stronger. And then when you go into the real world and you deal with your day, you're like, nobody can fuck with you unless they want to, like, unless you let them, right? So, like, and there's always that person where you're going to run into where they're looking for somebody to, like, piss off, especially if you work in customer service. And they get more, they're angrier when they realize, like, I can't piss this dude off, like, and I think burnout is real. And I think that a lot of people aren't really talking about it as much. And then for, like, look at the medical field, right? We're having these people work jobs that they're working, like, let's say a 12-hour shift. Sometimes they'll take a 24-hour shift, like, once. However, I don't know, I had a friend that she's a anesthesiologist, and she was telling me about how she has a coworker that comes in once a week and does a 24-hour shift. And I'm like, I don't even want to have a medical procedure now, considering I know that people are doing 24-hour shifts. Like, I don't know how I feel about that.
I know.
But we're slamming them with all this, like, work stress and, like, all of this, like, stuff that they have to deal with on top of, like, these crazy, long shifts. And we're making them, it's like they're here helping people, like, medically, like maybe in a hospital setting, and then it's at the expense of their, like, well-being, their mental health, their physical health. Like, maybe somebody's still in school and they're still working a job in the hospital while they're maybe dealing with family stuff and, like, personal stuff, and, like, everything combined. Like, then it's more like, okay, well, now we really have to, like, organize our lives. Like, if that was me, it was like, okay, well, there's no time to fuck around. Like, here's my day. This is what I'm doing. This is when I drop the kids off at school. This is when I work. This is when I go to sleep. This is when I wake up. If you want to, like, spend time with me or doing your hobbies or, like, whatever you do, having to, like, structure and pre-plan and schedule things, because, like, if not, it's like a disaster. It's a formula for, like, stress and burnout. And then like, now you're pissed because you're overwhelmed. You just got so much going on, and you start to feel lost.
Yes. Yeah, you described my life before I was remarried. No, seriously, I was a single mom, and when I was a financial advisor, and they told me I didn't see my kids. My kids were really little when I got divorced. They were both under 4. And so it's an unfriendly environment to begin with, and when you have no support, and you have to pay for everything. You have to pay for support. Yeah, meaning you have to pay there's no like grandma, there was no grandma around or no anybody around to alleviate the stress. So which is huge. I think women with careers and kids, especially, and with families, have so much stress. They just don't know how to deal with it, and that's the first thing you give up is your well-being, your self-care, usually, because you feel like you have no time for it. And there's a lot of lip service out there where, and they really mean it when you are no good to anyone, and if you're not healthy. But a lot of times it takes getting sick yourself to realize you have is like you have to put the oxygen mask on first, and it's really important, especially if you're the only one paying the bills. You're the only one there for them. It's even more important for single moms.
Right.
Yeah.
I had one of the coaches in FTA, when things were kind of hitting, going off the rails a little bit for me in September. And I remember she was like, this is the best time for you to, lean into your exercise and your gratitude practice. And I'm like, this chick is crazy. She's out of her damn mind right now. Like, what is she talking about? And I checked myself and I was like, okay, wait a minute. Let me just stop, reflect on everything that I went through with Sort of Dangerous, and then the understanding of it more so, like the coaching aspect of it with FTA. And I was like, all right, okay, like, like scientifically, everything, like how the body works and everything. I was like, all right, she's right. It
Yes.
makes sense. Let me just suck it up and lean into that. And it made a big difference. And I guess sometimes you're just like, I don't know what to do, like what's going on. And for somebody that's going through that, the biggest thing that I would say is, like, what are you doing? Because where is the stress coming from, right? I think that's the first thing to uncover. And that's why we have like a flow blocker diagnosis, right? Which we could say is like a diagnosis for burnout, right?
Yes.
Where's the stress coming from? And more so, is this like from your personal life, or is this from your, professional life? And if it's from your professional life, then, we have to do things personally in your life that offset that stress,
Yes.
or vice versa, right?
Yes.
And it's really important to do that. Is like easy as it sounds when you're like in the middle of like all of those feelings, like stress, anxiety, depressed, feeling lost, like feeling like nothing's working, really just like figuring out where it's coming from, and then offsetting that with like, going for a walk,
Yes.
some cold therapy, like taking a cold bath or a cold shower, exercise, like where's your nutrition? And obviously like we're getting into positive psychology now, like
Yes.
all those things that like are the foundation of well-being. And then today it's like everybody's like, oh well, like how we're talking about burnout and stress, or even people coming to us to like, get flow sessions. And like at the end of the day, no matter what happens, if you look at the foundation of well-being, and like, Martin Seligman, which is like a very well-known American psychologist, he goes into this in Flourish. But positive psychology is how we measure well-being in the psychology community, right? And I lost my train of thought there because I just got so caught up in that.
It's like what you're saying is it's a foundation for.
It's the foundation of our lives.
Of our lives,
at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Like I know people that they want to go and buy supplements. Like, oh, what's the protein powder you're taking? And I'm like, I don't even take a protein powder. Like, you're asking me the wrong questions. What food do you eat? Well, if you hate broccoli and I love it, why are you going to eat that vegetable instead of eating the vegetables you like?
Yeah.
But it's literally like at the core of it all. It's it's important. But you look at people like they want to buy supplements, but they're not even sleeping.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's people in those industries, in those network marketing companies, a lot of them. No, seriously, and they're focusing on the wrong thing, pretty much.
Right.
And they think that, yeah, I know. And everything you said. I mean, it's not, here's the thing, because I did the high flow leadership thing with FRC. Somebody said this, Nassim Taleb, I guess, the chaos theory guy. I don't know. He's written a bunch of books, but he said, really, it's the subtraction of things, eliminating. And I think about that's really what Zeta D is about, is like getting really, like, what is it? Like getting really clear, not about what you want, but like eliminating the stuff that's in your way, sort of, and getting back to what you just said, positive psychology, which when I was in the field, they didn't talk about positive psychology at all. And I read that, I think I said this to you one of the last times we talked, that it's fairly new in psychology. It was like, positive psychology is fairly new. Wow. Martin Seligman was the one who came out with, many years ago, the theory of learned helplessness. So it's almost like he did a complete about face, like, oh, okay. So rather than learned helplessness, we all want to feel valued. I like that VIA strengths, because I would give that, people can do that and find their 5 greatest strengths. And that's a free thing on the internet. You can go there and take that test and find out what your strengths are. I think a lot of people don't realize their strengths. I think they're focusing on the wrong things.
Yeah. And I know it's interesting, because like the strengths are so important, and then knowing, like, make a list of what you don't want, or what you're not into. And even more so though, it's a weird dance, because I know, like, Brendan Bouchard talks about how, like, if you're telling a bear to, like, get the honey at the top of the tree, like, telling him to be more of a bear doesn't help him, like he's trying to get up the tree to get the honey, he's already a bear, right? But knowing your strengths is super important, and utilizing them, and in a way that's new,
it is
new and novel.
Yeah, there's VUCA for you, right? So novelty. Yes. Yeah, I mean, so many good things have come out of all of the courses we've taken. But I said, it's scientists and psychologists and a lot of the scientific community and business community lost in semantics. I've been saying that for a long time, which means to me, you've just reworded common decency and common sense. And in other words, none of this stuff is new under the sun. Absolutely none of it. It's just really treating first yourself the way you should be treating yourself, and then treating others with kindness and decency. And think about that, Gemini. If that were to happen, there'd be world peace almost immediately, right? I mean, there really are no deficiencies in the world. We just have been made to believe there are. And it's really true. There's enough of everything for everybody, and most people don't believe that. They think that they have to fight for their little piece of the pie, and that's not the case. But it takes a lot. I think it takes people to have a crisis in their life to realize that what's really, really matters. And there again, they have to, like, figure out what they're like. They have to realize that they matter first, more than anything. And then that feeling of love for yourself and love for life kind of permeates out into the world. And that sounds really hokey, but that's really true. It really is true. Like, that we're all very much alike in a lot of ways, more than we are diverse.
I mean, look at like, a Hollywood actor, or The Rock, right? Like, when people go up to him and they're like, they're just the energy given off of somebody that they're, that they look up to, or that they're inspired by. and that energy, you can feel it. And when you're in a good place, people sense that and they want to be around you because of it. And if you're always moody and depressed, like nobody wants to be around that. And like you don't ever want to really surround yourself with that. Like, okay, everybody feels like that, but at the same time it's like, well, okay, cool, you feel like that, but what are you doing now? I'm going to continue to do to offset that with something, right? Like maybe you have a negative thought, well, now you need to have two positive thoughts just to offset that. You're depressed, well, are you sitting at home all day watching Netflix after work? Or like, are you going to go for a walk and maybe go to the gym and like eat right instead of just sitting at home watching Netflix, eating ice cream, drinking beer? Because then there's two different people, right? Like one is actually trying to like, better themselves, feel better, and do the right things. The other one's like, oh, well, it's me, and this is what I am, and I guess this is what it is, instead of like taking control. But I guess even that, like, I think a lot of people don't even feel like they have control in their lives. Like I know when I was younger, I was like, I really don't remember it because like, when we get older and we grow, like we're different. So like
Yeah.
that was like 4 to 7 me's ago. Like, I don't remember that version. Like I kind of do. I know where I was at, but I would just wake up and just do what I was doing. And I think that comes from like not really feeling like the things I do matter or that I have much control, except for like my day and like some of the things I do. But then you realize like how much control we really have and our ability to like intentionally grow and like, create networks that facilitate well-being, like, having good relationships.
Yeah, I know. Like what I mean, what's the first thing you do with a client, with a when you meet someone and they start, I say spewing their stuff all over you, like I'm sure you hear a lot of it, like blah, right? They're like, where do I start? So, you have such a great handle on that, and understanding, and you've lived so much of everything that we, like it must have been for you, like, I know this stuff when you were in D2D, like, yeah, I got this. And people can feel that you don't have to like, oh, what was that step number, like it's not like a book, a textbook for you. Like a lot of people that I talk to, they don't have the words down. It's like, you don't have to have the words down. If you've lived this stuff, you don't have to like pretend that you know it. You just
Right.
Like it's so easy to be understood by everyone if especially somebody that's experienced it can explain the feeling of going through this process of like, oh gosh, I know this stuff. I got it. But they have to want to do the work. And I've heard that from personal development. What's the work? And people are like, what's the work? It's figuring out, you're trying to figure yourself out. That's basically what it is. Right.
Right.
And it's not that difficult to do.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Self-awareness.
Yes.
It's very important.
Yeah.
Like, what on everything, like what am I good at? What am I not good at? What do I suck at? Like who can I like link up with that, is good at the things that I'm terrible at, and like they're just amazingly good at it, and linking up with them, or just like everything, how much stress can I take in the day? I told this person yesterday, listen, for the next 7 days, I want you to go and make a note of your highest energy point in the day and your lowest energy point in the day. And for 7 days, just put that in your phone and we'll see what's up when we, revisit everything next week. Because then, like if 3 o'clock is your highest energy point every day, then like, okay, cool. Like I'm going to put my most like energy taxing task or whatever, you want to call it, at 3 o'clock. At 3 o'clock, I'm always on point. Okay, cool. 3 o'clock, we're going to take advantage of that. Like, we're going to abuse the hell out of that hour, and then knowing when to get out of that, which again is like self-awareness. Like, all right, I'm excited. All right, cool. I'm working. I'm getting this done. The energy's kind of slumping. All right, I'm going to stop so I can come back to this not burnt out of this task.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting that you said 3 o'clock. For me, that's when I crash.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I was trading, I would be sitting in front of 6 monitors and I'd be like, oh my God. And I always thought, I'm so glad I don't work with a bunch of people anymore, because I'd be like this at my desk. Yeah, 10 minutes. I literally have my head down at times and think, and then I'd look around thinking, oh my gosh, there was nobody in my office. It was a home office, right? Now, I see that now. I'm more aware of it because of everything that I've learned about flow. I just, when you're so immersed in it and you feel like you're on this treadmill of, I got to do this and I got to do that. And, and you're like, how do I get off? That's your ego thinking, I don't know how to do this. I'm so married to this part of my life. Like, how do I get from here to there? I think that's what a lot of people are trying to figure out. Like, I hate what I'm doing, but I'm so mired in it. Like, I can't just leave this. And I say that to my daughter as a financial analyst. I said, just take a baby step. Go do something one night a week that just lights you on, like, just don't do it for money. Just do it because you want to be in that space, whatever that is. If it's baking cookies, if it's walking around Pottery Barn, whatever it is, just go do that. So, yeah. And I think she's going to start taking my advice, but that's an easy thing to do. And you just start slowly getting into that space where you think you want to be. There's somebody in FTA that left their position and they got into full-time coaching. And I heard them speak a couple of days ago. We were all on this call, and the fear in this person's voice was just palpable because they now no longer have an income coming in. Somebody must have suggested they do what they just did. And I thought that's probably the worst thing to do, because now you realize that you can't go from zero to whatever it takes time. It's a universal principle. It's a gestation, right? Like you're planting seeds, and what you want isn't going to be harvested like in a month, especially depending on what this person is going after. I thought, and I think they've taken such bad advice from some major people out there. So yeah, it's heartbreaking to see that, the hear the fear in someone's voice, because I kind of can sense the road that's ahead of them, because I've been there. Right. It's not a good place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got caught up in all that. I think that's been a big thing for me, though, like a couple of years ago, back in like 2019 in April, like, but just getting caught up in all of that, like online marketing, Russell Brunson, and all these guys, Grant Cardone. Which, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great information that they have, but it's like, I think Gary Vee has a little bit more of a realistic approach. Like, hey, stop doing the stupid shit. Have your full-time job, and then from 7 to 9, you work on your side hustle. For a couple of years. And you have to eat shit a little bit. And that's the problem. I think everybody's like, oh, well, like on Instagram, I saw this. Like, who cares about Instagram? Like, your life is your life. When I start a session, I'm like, hey, look, the session is about you and the things that are going to help you in the ways that work best for you. I'm here to provide the tools and the knowledge that work, that, are proven to work every single time. Yeah. But you have the answers, you're the expert in your life, and being able to customize things individually in a way that is for you matters. So, for people like on social media, just like generalizing like one thing or like one fitness program or like one meal plan for everybody is like, it sucks because it's like been doing more damage than it has good. Like you might have, okay, well, if you get 10% of people that it works for, like that's a failure, because what about the other 90% of people? Like those are humans. They need help. They want to feel good or get the whatever result they're looking for from whatever coach, trainer, consultant, whatever, the name label that those people have. But yeah, to just bounce on your job. Yeah. And I actually had left my full-time job in April 2019 for a marketing position. They were dishonest about what I would be doing. Come to find out on training day one, they want me to knock on doors. And I'm like, I literally asked you this question in the interview, So, and you know what? I take responsibility. Like, at some point, like it's just easier to just like, take responsibility and just learn from it and figure out how I can like maybe do an interview better or whatnot. And I ended up, never going back to that job because I don't want to work for a dishonest company. And I think that's important. I had yesterday, I mentioned with this particular person that I spoke to that, a values conflict at work is so bad,
Yeah, that's one of the things that they talk, because I'm preparing a proposal for a bank for burnout presentation, and that's one of the things that they talk about in Z to D. And it's like, yeah, of course, when you're, and I'm thinking of my daughter. She was just promoted, then she works for a very large company, and she says, I don't know. It's all like cloak and dagger. I've been asking about this for 6 months, and now suddenly I have it, and I don't know. And the bump in salary is a joke. They're piling on a bunch more stuff. They've been losing people right and left who don't want to go back to this company. So it's the values. There's no autonomy there whatsoever. So she feels extremely controlled. And when companies try to really pigeonhole people like that, it's such a backlash. They just like it's especially nowadays, people that are really have a lot to offer just don't want to, like, I'm not signing up for this anymore. They realize we don't get to be here forever, right? So whatever you do for a living, you better like it. Like, and you better really be, they bet your values better be aligned. Otherwise, you're going to go find something else to do.
Yeah, people are realizing I don't have to put up with this bullshit anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll go sell some network marketing shit over, being screwed over at work all day and overworked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what would you say are some of the most important things that you would tell somebody that feels burnt out or stressed or overwhelmed to help them overcome those feelings?
Some of the stuff that you said, I was writing it down. I'm thinking there were 10 suggestions that we got in Z to D. And I thought, well, sleep, I would definitely get into sleep and the importance of sleep, because I think many of us, and I would be one of those people that was never really big on sleep. I bought into the myth that less sleep, if you were really productive, you were sleeping less. And I get up really early, like earlier. Sometimes I'll get up at 5:30 in the morning because I have a lot going on in my head. So all of that stuff and I've done it. I just never knew I would write my list at night, that stuff that accumulated during the day of what I wanted to get done the next day. And I still do that too, so I can sleep. But all the sleep hygiene is big. I sleep better now than I ever have. And I'm 7 hours is the max for me. And occasionally I might get 8, but usually I don't. Sleep would be one. And most people, there's a lot of pushback with that. I don't have the time for that. I don't, all that stuff that it precedes that, right? Like shutting down everything, your digital stuff 2 hours before.
Right.
At least try a half an hour, then an hour. Um, some kind of physical activity, even if it's just getting outside. So you can stack those, right? Get outside, that's nature, and go for a walk so that you've got some movement in your day. Hydration would be another huge one. Water. Um, so good some social connection, like real social connection, like go see, talk to somebody that you are of like mind, that don't talk to somebody that's just going to dump on you constantly about their crappy life. Find some group of people that are genuinely, on your side. They want more for you than you do. You can sense that of people. You can also sense the
Yeah,
opposite.
for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. But it seems like the biggest one there was sleep.
Sleep.
And I mean, that's like so huge, you know. It's easy to get caught up in like, oh, well, you know, I'll just cut out some sleep and like, all right, well, you're not 20 anymore. So, you
Yeah,
know, and imagine the advantage you had if we were like 20, you know, doing this stuff. Like we'd
I
be
know.
superhuman,
I
you
think
know?
I think of that. Yes, I grew up in the time when Martha Stewart used to talk about having 4 hours of sleep, and it was like the benchmark of 4 hours a night. And I did a lot of that when I was in college, and everybody did. And
Yeah.
that was just the way it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Like I think if people really realize what lack of sleep does to them, they'd stop it. They would stop getting minimal sleep. They would think twice about it.
starts with the education, and I think for everybody that really wants to like learn more, I think the best place to start would be to get Ariana Huffington's Sleep Revolution. That book changed my life. I read it in like 2000, like late 2017, and as soon as I read that book, sleep came became the number one priority in my life ever since. So
Really?
um, yes. So sleep hygiene, make you know, like, and that's like at the top of the positive psychology. So for everybody that's listening or gonna, you know, catch the replay, whatever, like, get that book, get the audio book, go through it. The information in there is game changing, and you will for sure prioritize sleep 100% over every single thing once you go through that book. So, but we're gonna leave it at that. And hopefully everybody that's, you know, jumped on and listened got some value from this. And Lisa, I really appreciate your time. And yeah, we're definitely hit up another one next time and see what's up.
Yeah, it was great. Great, Jim, and I love being here. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Always good to
Glad
see
to
you.
have you.
Yeah.